Started up the stream. We are live on the air with a video that's going to piss Nintendo off. Alright, Brendan, is the red light on?
Mm-hmm.
Shall I begin? No, Brendan, you should begin this week, or do you not want to?
I should.
Sure.
Okay.
Alright. Let's do this thing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Z Trigger podcast, where we continuously talk about the same shit because all studios care about is games as service, which means we like to fuck our audience over a lot.
Not Z Trigger.
This is going to be an optimistic podcast now, isn't it?
I can't help it. I wasn't kidding when I have told you that every week, and this, I like Jim Sterling. I like watching his videos, but the more I watch his stuff week to week, the more I pay attention to news week, the less I want to have anything to do with gaming. Because how Mikkel thinks he knows what metal is anymore. I feel like I don't know what gaming is anymore because clearly the landscape has changed to the point that I no longer can consider myself a fan because it's very far between that a game comes out that can deliver what a game is supposed to deliver on, or not ask me to pay them $5 every 5 minutes.
Whew, man,
game companies have become prostitutes.
Sorta,
No.
You pay more for extra minute.
No.
Yes,
we're the
and
ones
more
getting
for
fucked.
if you want to do that. If you want to finish in a certain way, you pay more.
it's like whoa. The climax is going to cost you an extra $10, and that's only if you can do it within the next 10 seconds. If not, then you're going to give me another $10.
And that's only if you push the button and the loot box pops open and my vagina is actually in there.
Yes, it could be something a lot worse.
Yes.
It could end up being like that
Sandpaper.
Yeah.
It could end up being like that scene in American Gods.
Oh God. where you get anally fucked by a djinn. Good luck. Okay, Brandon, we will elaborate on this further and
Yes. But anyway, let's speak on something good. I know what I've been playing, and it's the same thing that you've been playing.
It's the thing I'm playing right now, right?
And if you're playing Mario, then yes.
Yes.
Wow, you actually bought it, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like I was in Wilmington the day of release because video games now release on Fridays for some reason.
This past weekend, that was the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because new Call of Duty released on Friday, Mario released on Friday. I'm guessing slowly everything's just released on Friday.
Nah, just stuff that wants to be different.
Honestly, to be true, I think Friday's a better day anyway.
It is.
Because I get off work, I go by GameStop or wherever the hell ever, I buy it, I go home, and I have the weekend to play.
And people usually get paid on Fridays.
Yes, Thursday or Friday, but Tuesday. Well, who is that a good day for? Nobody.
Not me. Not anymore.
So
only books get released on Tuesdays now, I think.
So what you're saying is that we should go buy our books, we should read our books during the week, and then on the weekend we play video games.
Yeah.
what I do anyway.
Shit, I've been
so
playing video games lately.
I wish I had time for video games. I'm reading 3 books, so I haven't had time for video games.
So Brandon, I'm gonna go off on this game in a minute and just rant and rave. But do tell me, Brandon, what do you think of Mario Odyssey?
Why are you going to rant and rave? I thought you liked it.
Oh, I'm going to rant and rave about how good it is.
Oh, that's not rant and raving. That's crazy.
That's good.
I'm still going to sound like a lunatic.
That's praising and masturbating.
Honestly,
this is a different kind of podcast now.
Yeah, I really like the game. Nintendo's really like they're putting all their money into the collectathon aspect of gaming because it's 999 things to collect. This is a little ridiculous.
Oh, cool! They become rare.
This is crazier than rare in the sense that you literally have. Okay, so there are 800. There's just a little under 900 actual moons in the game. And
that's no moon.
And then you can buy the rest of the moons in the store.
What are you talking about? Buy the rest of the moons in the store, like with in-game money?
Yes. No microtransactions. Okay. There are no microtransactions. That is not what I was going for. That I know that that's the thing to be concerned about these days, but that is not what I was talking about. I promise. No, whenever you finish, so basically, once you've gotten all of the moons in the game, certain things change in terms of, like the game rewards you constantly for every extra effort that you do. But then the last 120 or so moons are based on collecting enough coins to buy them. So it can be a grind, but there are an extra 120 moons after you finish the game. And the game rewards you for that even. The game rewards you for everything you do. Because before I watched this, I watched Completionist talk about doing his run. And yeah, he says that the game does have a reward for everything you do in the game. Oh, and Trent, you'll dig this. One of the later worlds in the game, after you finish the game, is the Mushroom Kingdom, i.e. Peach's Castle from Mario 64.
Oh, nice.
You can't go to all the different stages from Mario 64, obviously, because that would be insane.
Yeah.
But you can literally go to Peach's Castle and do some of the same stuff that you used to do there for more moons. Which in that world, they're just stars.
Which, I mean, speaking of that, the game does feel a little bit like that one. Maybe just a little more polished. And
which makes me surprised that Brad likes it.
Well, there's one... okay, so one of the things I don't love about Mario 64, and I never realized just how much this bothered me until I heard a lot of people talking about it in reviews, is that whenever you're playing a level in Mario 64, the game stops you from playing that world, and you have to go back in and start all the fuck over.
Oh, you mean like when you collect the star?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of goddamn irritating. So
yeah, they should update that and re-release it. It's Nintendo. They do that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, they kind of sort of did that with the DS game, but I don't know if they took that aspect out. So
so they added that and then got rid of the stick controls. So
yeah,
I'd rather have the stick control.
Right. But so also the levels are bigger, and there's just so much in this game that you can do in a single world, and it just feels really good. The controls are stellar. It's not like... I know that time makes most games look kind of rough, and I played Mario 64 late. And maybe I would have liked it more if I'd played it, sometime close to its launch rather than, 4 years later or 3 years later.
Yeah, probably.
But I still prefer the older Mario games. This is probably the best 3D Mario game I've played. I know that's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but as far as like this style, this collectathon style Mario experience that they haven't really done since Galaxy 2, this is the best one I've played because, say what you want about Mario Galaxy, the levels don't feel as good as this. They just don't. And I mean that. They just don't feel this good. And there's variety, there's a lot of charm here that's kind of built around the history of the series to a degree. Sorry, I'm doing a platforming challenge on the stream here. It's not even a platforming challenge exactly, but it's providing me a little bit of challenge. Just trying to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to collect a chest that's on top of this wall, and I finally made it up there. Sweet. It doesn't feel as small. Like, everything feels really big and really good about what's going on in this game. Because, say for example, you go into an underground area. Every single underground area, with the exception of like one that I've seen, has 2 moons in it and usually some purple coins. Because you gotta collect between 50 and 100 purple coins for every single kingdom in the game. And that's craziness. Yeah, somebody just knocked on my door. Or just rang my doorbell. Which is unusual. If I die in a minute, please tell my wife I love her. Somebody's got a key. It's probably a roommate.
Then why ring the doorbell?
Well, I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah.
Amanda, is it you?
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Well, say hi to the podcast.
Hi, podcast.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I wasn't being swatted. I am streaming. All right. So yeah, I was talking about Mario and how brilliant the level design is and how unbelievable this game actually is. So I've played over half the worlds in the game. As a matter of fact, this is a good time to... And I've gotten a sickeningly high amount of moons, considering how much time I've not had to play. I've got 216 moons right now. And that's most of the first 2 worlds' moons, and a good portion of the third as well. And then a nice selection from the rest of the game as well. There's... I think my favorite world so far is New Dawn City. Brandon, how far have you gotten? I've just been kind of commandeering this conversation.
Honestly, not very far. When I did play, I basically just stuck in like the first real world. You start exploring, trying to get all the moons there that you can.
It's hard. It's really hard to get them all in one spot without, like, I'm going to say this, and this may sound weird, but, like, I feel like I learn new ways to manipulate the map as I go along. And that teaches me new ways to get moons in previous worlds.
That's probably what's supposed to happen, because there's one that's like up in the air. I'm like, how the fuck do you get there?
Are you talking about the Cascade Kingdom, the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, so how that one works is there's a painting in the Snow Kingdom that you can get to, and that takes you to that platform.
Oh, joy.
Yeah. This game is, it's dense, and I mean that in the best way possible.
You still jump into paintings?
Yes, well, there are some paintings that you can jump into, yes.
Man, they really did try to redo Mario 64, didn't they?
Yeah. They really wanted to capture that feeling, you know?
So this is better than Super Mario Galaxy 2, because I heard that was the best 3D Mario game. I haven't played it yet, but I've heard it on many top 10 lists. That's the number 1.
I never played the first one. I mean, I never played the second one. I only played the first one.
I own the first one. Haven't played it yet.
Huh.
Because I still need a Wiimote.
Yeah, you would have to have it for that one, considering that one's playstyle being what it is. But no,
Yep.
it's this one. I like this one more than Mario Galaxy's entire style of gameplay, even so.
And definitely more than Sunshine, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I tried Sunshine one time, and I was not a fan.
It's from retrospective reviews. It seems like most people weren't.
You know, it all really depends on who you ask. Some people really like Sunshine, and I remember trying it, you know, whenever the GameCube was my lead console choice, but I by no means wanted to finish it. But, I mean, Galaxy was the first 3D Mario game that I played through, so maybe I was just not ready to play those yet. Maybe I could go back to Mario 64 and have a good time with it, but I don't know.
I mean, you like 3D World, right?
Oh my god, I love 3D World.
So,
Oh my god,
I guess you just weren't ready for it at the time.
I mean, maybe so. Mario 3D World, though, the main reason I like that one so much is quite simply because it played more like a 2D Mario game with 3D gameplay.
Yeah, like Mario 3D Land does, because it's the same series.
Yeah, exactly. Which I haven't played that one yet, and knowing that that's kind of what that was like, I need to play it bad.
It is a fun game. But, you know, I think I'm actually going to ask for a Switch for Christmas. I'm going to get Switches for Christmas. No. You know, my parents always said that, so maybe I can make it true this year. Since Mario Odyssey is out and I have yet to play Breath of the Wild, even though I could because I have a Wii U, I was going to wait for the Switch version. So now that there are 2 games I want to own on the Switch, yeah, I might ask for one now.
It's a great console, and this is a great game for it. And
they say Dragon Quest XI will come on it eventually in America, so that's another good reason.
I'll see that one when it happens. As far as
yeah, I'm not going to say it's definitely coming, but they've hinted at it.
I mean, it's.
But then again, they had ads in the '90s for the 3 Dragon Quest games that never came out here until the DS era. So.
Oh, NX. NX had a lot of trouble reaching America in the '90s anyway. Like their American publishing studio closed entirely in like 1994 or '95, something like that. It was really early on that they didn't have publishing here. And they wouldn't get anything even close to that back until the PlayStation era. Whenever, I think I don't know what their first PS1 title was, but it happened. That much I can tell you, that there was NX games on the PS1 because I have Star Ocean, and I quite like Star Ocean. I mean, it took me 15 years to finish the goddamn game, but I like Star Ocean.
Well, I guess the merger was a good thing for them then.
Yeah.
Financially.
Yes. Well, I mean, Enix was doing better than Square at the point of the merger anyway, just because their Japanese holdings were better off.
Yeah.
The movie, the Final Fantasy movie was a disaster for Square, so.
Although I liked the movie.
Oh yeah, me too. It's funny, you know, our buddy Sean's he does not like Final Fantasy really, but he texted me a couple nights ago. It's like, you know, I'm watching the Final Fantasy movie, and you know what? It's good.
He was watching The Spirits Within, right?
Yes, not that crock of bullshit that they did to Final Fantasy VII.
Well, wait, haven't they done like 3 movies now?
Yeah, Kingsglaive, which was
yeah.
It was certainly a thing that they put on film or on video.
Hey, you said it wasn't as bad as Advent Children. I remember at least the ads didn't seem like it was going to be as bad.
That's not a high bar to reach, though.
No. No, it's not.
Geostorm was a better movie than Advent Children.
I'm not even gonna see that one.
I did on the simple grounds I was hoping it would at least be entertaining. Unfortunately, it couldn't even do that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing. And whenever I was just expecting it to be popcorn fluff of the worst caliber, yeah, I wasn't asking for a whole lot, and they failed me altogether. So, but what do I expect? It wasn't actually directed by the guy who directed all the good disaster movies. Giant,
No, but
audible air quotes.
but it's the guy that produced Independence Day, Stargate, Godzilla. Well,
Right.
okay, Godzilla isn't a good bar to set there. But
No, it's not.
or Independence Day Resurgence,
Right.
or Fly Boys,
You know,
or The Patriot.
I'm one of like 5 people who thought that Independence Day Resurgence was exactly what it needed to be, which was stupid and incredibly enjoyable.
Well,
I liked it.
I was not asking for a lot, and I didn't get a lot.
Exactly.
Damn
That
it,
I got what I was expecting.
Yep. I got the dumbest shit I could possibly put on my brain, and I had a good time. Oh, this is a video game podcast, though, so let's just bring it back to the fact that I don't know what the fuck we were talking about. So, but yeah, Brandon, I cannot wait for you to get to New Donk City and try some of the stuff that happens there, because this game literally has some of the coolest stuff ever in that section. Although it's weird. It's so weird because there's humans in this game and you can possess them. And you can use their possessed bodies to race RC cars, and it's just so odd, and I love it. Oh. So anyway, speaking of Mario Odyssey, it actually is doing extremely well in market. Moved 2 million units in the first weekend alone. And that's pretty damn impressive.
Impressive.
Like, what's the actual sales numbers for the Switch at this point?
I think I remember seeing something on that. I don't remember what it was.
I want to say it was like 4 million or something. Maybe.
Yeah, that was more than what they were expecting. They somehow, I could have sworn they said they predict that 14 by the end of the physical year for them.
Yeah, well, fiscal year.
And the EA's like, no.
Yeah, EA's stupid asses. Like, we're gonna release the greatest game ever on the Switch, and that will be FIFA. And then FIFA did not sell for shit, apparently.
Well, you gave us a fucking like stripped down version. Yeah, the base game probably plays really well, but like you took away even stuff like in like the season mode. They altered things in that for some reason.
Which there's no goddamn reason they should have altered anything.
No, and
But
that's
they
why
had,
I'm
they had to contain all that awesomeness for that sequel for that FIFA 19 they're never gonna put out.
what would have been funny is if later on it's like, oh, okay, we decided to give you all this stuff, but you got to pay us $10 to get it.
Oh,
you know,
no. You gotta get it out of a loot box.
Yes, you get bits and pieces out of a loot box, and eventually you may have a new game mode.
But otherwise, you better be ready to just enjoy that that season mode as much as possible.
Yeah, stripped down season mode.
You know, and this is the thing. I have 10 games for my Switch. This was my 10th game for the Switch. I have my 11th on pre-order right now. So that's 11 games in 9 months, and in well, in the first year, okay, not even the first year, 11 games. And I admit that I'm the exception to the rule. I bought a lot of games. My wife bought me a lot of games because she wanted me to have. I'll quote her on this because she'll get it, because she kills me when she says stuff like this. She's like, I can't believe we have the Wii U and only X amount of games for it, which is 17 titles now. That drives her crazy that we do not have more games for that console.
They didn't make many.
Well, I mean, there's still games I don't have yet, but like she says, that's the reason why I have so many games for the Switch already. And so here we are, first year in. I'm the kind of person who will buy Switch games. If EA put out a game that's not full of loot box bullshit, I'm staring at you, Battlefront 2, and actually gave a damn. If they showed me they gave a damn about a game that they put on the system, I would have bought it to see the system succeed, because I did that shit all during the Wii lifespan as well, you know, where I would buy games that came from third-party developers on the simple grounds of, I want this developer to make more games. And that's sure not the greatest way to buy games, no, I learned that over time. But at the same time, they needed, like, it helped on the Wii, fuck. Eventually we got more games. And it will work on the Switch as well, because the Switch doesn't even need the help, because the people who are buying games for the Switch are buying good games. They're not buying Game Party 7 because nobody's making Game Party titles anymore. Which, by the way, I was at my parents' house this past weekend and they had Game Party 3 for the fucking Wii. I have never played a worse playing piece of shit in my fucking life. Never. At all. I can't even believe that that was a thing that I fucking had, like, time spent doing. It was so bad. But I digress. All EA has to do is make a game that's not a goddamn sports title, and people will probably buy the damn thing.
Even if it's bad.
I mean, no, it could... if EA doesn't... like, even when EA makes a quote-unquote bad title, the reason it's bad is horrible DRM practices and loot boxes. It's not because the games they make are usually innately bad. I mean, Andromeda, I know that people don't particularly care for, but that's more of, hey, the design decisions are really dumb. Not specifically Andromeda is the worst piece of shit in the existence of mankind. It may not be good, but it's not mechanically bad. Am I making sense here yet?
It is not the modern day E.T.
Right, there you go. That's a fine way to put it. So, yeah. I would buy an EA game if they made a real game and didn't front load it with bullshit, like,
Or charge you for everything.
yeah, like I said, front loaded with bullshit, because that is the EA way of things right now. But then again, that's the industry way of things as well, so that's what it is. So, congrats to Mario Odyssey for 2 million in sales. I see a moon in this stage and I'm not getting it very well. I'm sorry to anybody watching the live stream because I'm doing a very bad job. Alright, on to other good news. I do have other good news on here. Considering, while we're on the subject of games selling game sailing whales. That's a sentence. Alright. Hellblade. Brandon, did you play Hellblade?
Oh God, no.
You didn't?
No, I mean, yeah, it's only $30, but I still have to be kind of picky about my game buying.
True.
With all the stuff coming out lately, that just unfortunately is going to be a hey, the game's on sale. Click. It's nothing against the game or anything. That's a lot of my PC buying ends up just I buy them when because most games for PC nowadays are digital. So if I want to buy them digitally, I tend to wait for them to be on sale.
Understandable. Okay, so it has far exceeded its expectations, apparently.
Which is sad because that basically they just broke even. They were surprised to break even. I was like, damn.
Well, I mean, you got to think the market they're trying to compete in. They're trying to compete in a market where Visceral gets shut down for trying to make good games.
Well, no, that's from a publisher thing. That's not the reflection of the actual market, and that's why I can't believe sometimes that EA is still like the big thing that it is when it has such stupid ass notions like that. When that's not what the audience is like. We what the fuck? We're willing to buy good games at cheaper prices, or we're willing to fork out money for good games. Hell, if Witcher 3 decided it's like, hey, pay us. We've designed this new structure for these new little mini story missions. They're all about 2 hours in length. You pay $2 per, and you get these extra story bits. I'd probably pay it because it's a damn good game, and knowing how they write shit, it'd actually be good. I'm willing to do something like that.
Absolutely, because they have shown us that they can make titles that are worth playing for extended periods of time. That said, I still need to go back and finish the last expansion. Did you play through Blood and... sorry to interrupt, but did you play through Hearts of Stone?
Not yet. I need to just go back and finish playing that game. I haven't really done any PC gaming in a while.
Dude, you're preaching the choir there. Neither have I. Then again, I don't usually. That's kind of my problem.
But but for them to have reached what they put into it in like just a few months is great. I mean, that means within a year they'll have made money off the title.
Do you think it has do you think it'll actually be an evergreen enough title to reach that kind of sales though?
Well, but they've already broke even, so yeah. I mean, at this point, anything they sell now is going to be profit.
That's true. That's a good point.
And like I said, it's only a few months into its life cycle, so if there's still plenty of people that are available to buy it.
This is true. I mean, I haven't bought it, but then again, I don't know that I will. No offense to the game itself, but like you said, games are expensive, and even at sale, it's going to be a difficult thing to do whenever I just buy too many damn games as it is, and most of my game buying is very genre specific, and I'm getting more so that way here lately with a lot of the gaming I've been doing. So, which is, really not fair to games like that.
But yeah, it's good that they are able to beat their expectations. And it just goes to show that as long as you make a good game, it will sell. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's just that difference in mindset of that getting some money is better than making no money because you make a shitty game but you put so much money into it that you hurt yourself. That's sort of what the AAA market is. We want, like Jim said, they want all the money. They don't want some money. They want all the fucking money. And which is sad because back in the PlayStation days, you could have budget releases, and all they really expected them to do was just sell a little bit, just to make a small bit of profit, and that would be fine. But you can't have that shit nowadays, which is really sad because a lot of titles wouldn't exist today if they were. It wouldn't exist back then if they had today's mindset.
You're exactly right.
Half the RPG market wouldn't even been there.
No, you're exactly right. That's the perfect example because if you look at a list of the PS1 RPGs that came out, that is a big catalog of RPGs, and some of those games were sales failures, which is why they're now stupid fucking expensive to buy a copy. I'm
What's
looking
funny?
at details.
And what's funny is that with some of they didn't abandon the series; they just kept going. Nowadays, if you have like a huge failure, like Andromeda,
Yeah.
they're likely to just abandon it, in which they do. It's so weird,
It
right?
is.
I mean, they act like having a blunder or two is just it's a death knell, and it means that nobody wants it. Maybe it's the fact that you made a shitty game.
Yep.
You ever thought about that? I mean, quit making shitty games. Quit trying to fuck us over. You know, Warner Brothers. Which I mean, what's
And
well, I
they
mean, I
didn't
say
make a
that.
bad game. They just
No,
They just
that's the thing that annoys me even more is that they'll make good games and then they just do shit to just fucking like rub salt in the wound that's not there. But
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure Battlefront 2 will be a very fun game, but fuck
well,
them if
if-
I'm gonna play it. They're goddamn
Fun
loot
if you-
boxes.
fun if you like, Battlefield, which I don't.
I mean, I'm thinking more about their single-player campaign they're putting in it. I would love to play that, but I can't spend $60 on a single-player campaign. I just can't do it. At least not when they can be finished in 4 hours. Or 5 hours or whatever.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I didn't buy the new Call of Duty. I mean, like I said, would I be willing to buy it if I had enough people if I had people to play with beyond the single player? Sure. But if it's just going to be that single player only, there's no way in hell I'm buying it at this point in time. I will wait for that damn thing to go down to its $20 price tag. Because that's what will happen. They're like the fucking sports titles. They will stay high until the next iteration comes out, then they'll drop.
Or never drop at all in the case of some of the Call of Duty games.
Yeah, like the ones that are that were so popular that are still popular, even though they're a few generations behind now, like Black Ops 2. For whatever reason, that damn game's still high. I can understand. We played the hell out of that one. We probably put in well over 100 hours into that game.
Which is crazy for a damn online game. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
but like I said, the map it was just one of those titles where their online maps just happen to be really damn good, and that's ultimately like the biggest aspect of if the maps suck, if what they put out there isn't good, then you ain't gonna like it, and that's what happened with Ghost. Ghost was just a horrible game all around. I don't know of anybody who liked Ghost. And the one since then, they just for one, it's like I actually hate Titanfall for this because it's its fucking fault. But they implemented the whole jetpack thing, so people just start flying over the fucking place. It's not fun trying to deal with that. I don't want to sit there and try and shoot you out of the air. It's not fun. And unfortunately, that kind of killed the group that I had. So, which is why when World War II came out, it's like, well, you ain't gonna have jetpacks there, So we might actually. It'd be kind of weird. Yeah, I mean, if this is like Wolfenstein, you might, but it's not. So, I'm waiting to see what happens with that one, and hopefully it ends up being a good game.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to have something to do, on a Friday night, game wise, just sitting here, Yeah, I can play my single player games, but there is some entertainment in playing with others.
I agree. That's why I bought Battlefront, although we haven't played recently.
No, we haven't, Brad.
I know. I still owe you the rest of your 10 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Well,
Because honestly, at this stage, after playing it and realizing that I'm never going to get into it, 10 hours is about the most I'm going to be able to stomach.
Jesus. Emotionally,
I just-
even stomach. That's
I
bad.
really just don't like it. I don't. To me, everything is just chaotic and it's not organized. It's just, people can call Call of Duty a Twitch shooter all you want, but at the end of the day, the maps are small enough and manageable enough that even if you're just running around and seeing you shoot somebody on sight, you still have a sense of focus because you're not having cross 3 or 4 miles of terrain to find some damn body.
Right. Well, I mean,
With-
that's the thing with Battlefront is it's not even just the disorganization. It's that okay, I want to put a giant flag in front of this. I fucking love Star Wars. I genuinely just love that stupid fucking series to death. And the reason I bought that game is because they finally had added some stuff after the initial release that sounded like something I'd like, and I wanted to give it a fair try for a solid $9 for the big complete edition with all the DLC. Thank you, Amazon Prime Now, you're awesome. And so I did. And you know what? I've kind of gotten what I want out of it. I got a game that I could go and shoot people in Bespin, but here's the thing. As much as I love the aesthetic of Bespin in the movies, those maps are not even possible to fucking navigate because everything looks the same.
It is all the same.
It looks like they just like copy and pasted every aspect of that game's design whenever they were putting it together, and that is a travesty because otherwise I really like what's there. I genuinely enjoy a lot of what's going on in that game visually.
Yeah, visually, it's nice looking, but I find most of it to be a dud. Hell, one of the bigger game modes I can't stand.
Oh my god,
Okay.
that Walker thing? Yes. It's
Yes.
terrible. 20 on 20 is boring because that is the only thing they got going for it. Oh man. But we should still play a bit more.
And then they tried to add the flying stuff. And while it was cool to finally be in an X-wing, it doesn't work, in my opinion. You want to talk about chaos? Your point as the Allies is to take this bomber and go blow up this shield thing. Well, good fucking luck getting to it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody on that side of the line make it to the damn shield and blow it up.
Oh man, me either.
Because it's so much chaos. People are just going off and doing their own thing, and it's not it's not even about not having a group. Because even if you had a group, I still don't think it would work very well.
No, because nobody can find their way around.
And that's why I'm like, when the new one, I was like, it's not going to be any better.
Nope. No.
I mean, the single player might be fun, but I sure as fuck ain't buying it at a brand new price.
Oh hell no! It'll be a.
Well, we waited a few years to buy the copy of the last game, so
It's true, but that's
right.
because it was. But that
because it was
of-
$10 by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was multiplayer only, so
I wasn't paying $60 for that shit anyway.
yeah.
I'm not gonna reward them for following industry trends that I fucking hate.
Well, I didn't own the system until recently, so. But I believe I was the first of us three to buy it.
Yeah, and I keep meaning to get in a game with you, Trent, but we haven't yet.
I'm rarely on my PS4 these days, sadly.
Yeah, sadly, I mean, you just got the damn thing, and it's already
Yeah.
like that. Which I went through that a bit, with my CVS days, but not so much recently. I played the shit out of I played a shit ton of games recently. I've really put in way more time than I have any damn sanity to do so.
I read too much. I should read less.
See, that's sort of my problem. Is I just find myself reading too damn much, and I've tried this week to stop and play Mario or something. But even that doesn't work out very well. I haven't touched the game today. I read a little bit and then I watched a movie and ate but no gaming.
I finished 2 books this week and have played this game.
I've done nothing.
I'm
But work.
actually really interested to see which book I'm going to review tonight on the show. Because I'm torn. I said I was going to review one book, but the book I want to review is the one I didn't say I was going to review.
Here's the secret: you can review both because I don't have a book to review because I'm reading 3 at once.
Oh, that would restrict you from doing a review.
Yeah, so I'm saying you can have 2 slots. So.
Hey, if you guys want me to, I will totally review both books. Because
I have nothing to review.
I quite like both of the books I read. But alas, we must we must beat the dead horse again.
The dead horse is nothing but bones by now.
Oh, isn't it funny that you use the word bone because it's the Xbox One dead horse?
We have many dead horses. There's a plague of dead horses.
Bad DLC, fucking loot boxes. But our favorite dead horse of all, now that VR has come and kind of gone already, is the Xbox One X. The Scorpio. The crock of bullshit, which comes out this Tuesday, November 7th. And I don't think I've ever seen a console launch of any kind that has been this blah. This completely, non-event. I know that some people would probably say, oh, there's plenty of excitement. There's so much to be excited about. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't see anybody being excited about this system. And I don't see any hype. And then amidst all this non-hype, and the only game that's coming out that day for the Xbox One at all, Super Lucky's Tale, got a crap review, which breaks my heart because I actually really wanted to play it. Amidst all this, Sony released the information that worldwide shipments of the PlayStation 4 have reached 67.5 million units. Which is really fucking impressive. Amidst all that, that's the sales figures for the Xbox One X. So, tell me, is this a good indicator of the complete lack of interest at large for the Xbox One X, or is there still a future for this thing? Is there a chance this thing's going to really, break records sometime in the future? What do you guys think?
What do you mean by break records?
Do you think
lowest selling console? No.
No. Do you think it's gonna come out, bring the comeback, a legendary comeback for this Xbox brand? Or do you think
because it's too fucking expensive. No one's gonna get the mass audience isn't gonna go and spend $500 on this thing. Hell, they even admit that they don't expect people to. They have the audacity to say, "Oh well, you have the cheaper S version. You go buy that."
That reminds me of when the Xbox 360 originally came out, and they had the one without the hard drive in it.
The arcade version.
Yeah. And they thought people would buy that crap. It's $100 cheaper, but all this extra stuff you have to buy that actually makes it work is going to cost you more than it would cost for the version with the stuff in it.
You say that, Trent, but people still bought that goddamn thing.
Yeah, they did. A lot of people did end up buying that.
And I'm sure they were sorry they did after they got it home.
Oh yeah, a lot of them did. I mean, there was a lot of that console was trading a lot just because there was so many of them sold in America. But honestly, it doesn't matter. The Xbox people can say all they want, But in the end, no matter what they do, Sony will outdo them on the whole. As a whole, they will outdo them. They did with the PS3. They're going to do that again here. Yes, I realize that technically, I think in America, Xbox did sell more than PlayStation, but there is just more than the North American market. There is the fucking rest of the world.
Yep.
And the rest of the world does not bow down and suck off Microsoft.
So it could be like when the Sega Master System came out and everyone else, it took off everywhere else but America.
Yeah, because the Brazil was still playing the damn Master System when the Saturn was dying.
Yeah.
which says a lot about Brazil's games market, but damn, Master System was a hit there.
And in Japan, of course.
Well, yeah. Master System's a good system. I like the Master System. I like the Xbox One X. I mean, I like the Xbox One. Not the One X. Fuck the One X. I like the Xbox One. I just think that they really just did a shit job selling it. So it's
well, I mean, haven't they already said that the remakes for this advanced system aren't going to be as good as people want them to be? Haven't they actually basically said that?
Yeah. I find this whole
they'll
situation...
basically be up converted.
I find this whole situation hilarious, and I think that it's fitting that we talked about this just one more time, because that lovely sales figure for the PS4. And I say this playing a game where I'm skipping rope as Mario. Although this is a really hard challenge because you have to do it 100 times successfully.
Hey, that's Nintendo. That explains Nintendo as opposed to the other systems. They're doing all that shit, and they're gonna and all the while Mario is skipping rope.
Hey,
man, that's a lot of consoles in 4 years.
With 67 million units, damn right it
yeah.
is. That's about 17 million units per year.
That's a lot.
It's 16.5 million per year.
I mean, I know it won't continue. It won't have the same trend this entire lifespan. But if it did somehow have a relative, selling point around this the entire time that the PS3 was out, then God, man, it would be in the hundreds, way up there.
Easily. It's potentially could outdo the sales for the PS2, because the PS2 is one of the highest selling consoles ever, and still...
I think, isn't it the highest?
It might be. I want to say that...
I think the Wii's the highest.
Yeah, I think the Wii is the highest.
Oh, okay. I thought the Wii was just highest in North America.
I think it's highest worldwide, because that damn thing was a hit everywhere. It was hard to get everywhere, too. The Switch has. You can actually find Switches in stores now. I usually find at least one Switch whenever I go in stores.
Yeah, I can find it fairly easily now.
I do think that'll be harder going in through the next month, though. Month and a half.
Oh yeah. The sales are gonna pick up even more as Christmas approaches, Black Friday, all that shit.
Oh man, that shit. Yep. Which, I'm not worried. I've got one. I love it. It's a great piece of hardware, and I'm still enjoying it. I'm going to leave this world in the game, though, because I'm having trouble finding stuff to do for moons. I found 3.
Because, damn.
Yeah. I think on that world I've got a ton. I've already done a lot in New Donk City. So, while we're on the discussion of Sony... Did you guys look at much from the Paris conference for Sony this week?
No.
It was largely uneventful. Sucker Punch has a new title coming up, and that's the creators of Infamous, and it is called Ghosts of
Mars.
No, it's not a bad John Carpenter movie.
Hey, I like that movie. It's stupid, but I like it.
what is that thing? I can't pronounce it. Tsushima, I think.
I was like, are you trying to pronounce Suikoden?
No. No, I don't even think Brandon would play a new Suikoden game.
Probably not, because the last one wasn't very good.
Well, that and Konami is Konami, and Konami is the worst. I think the show stealer probably, even though Sucker Punch released a trailer for a very cool looking samurai game, was Last of Us 2. And
Which
Yeah.
I don't care because I already knew about Last of Us 2.
I
Well,
know.
what are you going to do? Give me another fucking trailer? Gee, thanks.
Well, I mean, it was a good trailer.
I don't give a shit. If you're going to do a conference of any kind, is this their big expo? Is that
No.
what this was?
No, that's next month, I think.
Okay.
We're not too late yet.
Okay. So that's what I was wondering. I was like, was this their big expo? Because if this was their big expo, then this was a piece of shit.
No. Which I'm surprised they didn't save the Sucker Punch title for that.
I guess they wanted to give something to this.
Well, yeah. Apparently.
Okay, whenever you say Sucker Punch, I just think
The movie?
the Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't
Isn't it
want
a
a
little late
game.
for a video game off of that?
Yeah, right.
Things I would not be excited about, Trent. Anything involving Zack Snyder. And
Sadly, I think that's one of his better movies, but most people don't agree.
I didn't even watch it because it had his name.
I thought it was not very good. But to be fair, I don't like anything he does.
Yeah, I think he's a fucking terrible filmmaker. So
Yeah.
For the most part, I agree, but I did like his remake of Dawn of the Dead. Okay.
yeah, if I had to say that he made a movie that was not complete dog shit, I would have to say it's his remake of Dawn of the Dead because it was not a complete and total piece of dog shit. I didn't think it was great or anything, but
Oh no, it definitely didn't match the original.
no,
Not even close.
but it wasn't.
It was watchable though.
But it didn't make my stomach hurt with angst, with anxiety over the fact that I was
Martha?
wasting time.
How did you know that name?
Nobody else
Let's
can
be-
be named Martha.
Let's be friends now.
What if our mommy is her name Martha?
God.
Worst part of Batman v Superman. And
That
there's-
was the worst part.
Yes, in my opinion, it was.
I mean, it was pretty bad, but I mean, I don't know. The whole thing of, I'm Lois Lane. I'm going to take this staff and throw it in order. Oh no, we need the staff. I want to go back and get it.
You know, I've still not watched that fucking movie, and I
Don't.
think I ever will.
You don't need to. They completely make it pointless just by the previews for the Justice League. So, anyway, the Paris conference, it's just new trailers for games I already knew about, except for the Sucker Punch game.
There was one other announcement, I thought.
What, Dreams?
Did they do that?
There's an article here about Dreams. Oh no, that's 9 games missing. Okay, this is shit that was missing. What am I reading about things that are missing? I don't give a shit about things that are missing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's not the article you wanted to look at for this discussion, I think. Oh man, I don't know. That's Ghosts of Tsushima. Is that the name of it, Brandon? Please tell me if I'm making an ass of myself.
Well, you are always making an ass of yourself.
Well, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Dick.
Let's see. Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima,
Tsushima.
Tsushima, something like that. I
swear there was one other new game.
But I gotta ask,
trailer.
is it going to be another Souls ripoff?
What, Ghosts of Tsushima?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
It's an open world game set in the era of samurai and feudal Japan. What makes you think it wouldn't be?
Because that's not the kind of games they make.
That the other companies don't always make those type of games. They just happen to make one of that type.
I know, but this company's known for making. They made Infamous, for fuck's sake.
That don't matter. I mean, fucking Team Ninja made, the games that they've made, and they went out to make a fucking Souls clone. As a really good one, but they still made it.
I don't know. I don't see them doing it. That's all. Like, there could only be so many of those damn games. Somebody's got to make some games that aren't just fucking depressing hell fests like that one.
I don't know. That just seems to be like the next evolution of like the action RPG. That's more RPG than, well, I can't really say that, but that just seems to be the where things are evolving.
I really hope you're wrong, because I don't.
I mean,
I'm not good at those games, and I also don't enjoy that type of challenge at all. I'm okay with challenge. I just like challenges that don't feel like I should hate myself for playing them.
I mean, I honestly can't think of too many action RPGs that have come out lately that aren't like that. I mean, even there was one that was sci-fi based, and even it was a Soul clone. It just seems to be what's sort of popular right now. It's whole
absurdly popular. That I'm not going to disagree with. It's one of the most popular things in games. I'm not contesting that whatsoever.
Which, I mean, you do get better at as you play them more. I have noticed that. I am a lot better at that style of game than I was when I first tried to play, was it Demon Souls for the PS3?
Demon Souls, yep.
I fucking sucked at that one. I got my ass slaughtered over and over again. I don't think I got anywhere in that one. But then, with Dark Souls 3, I actually managed to beat one. So, they have gotten easier as they have been more refined.
Yeah,
but
aesthetically, I mean, I tried playing Dark Souls and I just...
The first Dark Souls is really hard.
Well, no shit, they're all hard.
Well, no. I mean, like I said, as they've gotten more refined, they've gotten easier. Like even Bloodborne, you could tell that it's just they polished the formula to such a degree that they've gotten a little easier.
Maybe I need to play Bloodborne. I keep thinking about it, but
Bloodborne.
But I haven't wanted to spend $20 on a game I may never beat.
But I do have to say, out of all of them, Bloodborne definitely has the best art style. I love the look of that one the most.
I mean, it sounded like the most interesting one. It was more horror than it was just horrifying. So
But
the
yeah,
idea is interesting.
So yeah, The Last of Us Part 2. I get it. They're excited about it. People are excited about it. But I don't need another trailer. It's not going to make me any more excited for it. I already know it's coming out. I don't need another trailer. That's why I just sort of feel like you're wasting valuable market space for something that people are already excited about that you could have used for something else that has gotten little or no attention at all because either it's not close to being done yet or you don't feel it's important or whatever, but you're just wasting your time.
I don't know.
It's kind of like with when Pepsi puts on a commercial for Pepsi. I don't need a fucking commercial for Pepsi. I know what fucking Pepsi is.
Are you sure you know what Pepsi is? Because sometimes Pepsi don't even know what Pepsi is.
I get, man. I don't know, but I don't need a commercial for Pepsi unless you're doing another Crystal Pepsi run and you want to advertise that you're doing Crystal Pepsi. That's something you do an advertisement for. When you do something that's different, something special about something. Maybe there's some new part of The Last of Us Part 2 that you haven't revealed yet. Yes, then you do an extra trailer, but I don't need a constant trailer every time you do an event.
Unless
The
it's
Last of
Pepsi,
Us.
unless it's Pepsi Fire, then fuck off.
I don't think I ever had that.
You wouldn't be the
I
only
don't think
one.
anyone actually drank it. I
That's
don't
probably
know.
why it's not here.
Oh, you never even saw it in the source? Wow. But no, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, like, I enjoyed the trailer that they put out for the simple grounds that it was a very good trailer. And, I mean, I'm perfectly okay with them advertising this game that everybody under the fucking sun's gonna buy. It's marketing hype. They're gonna find a way to maintain.
But you
marketing
don't
hype on something
need
forever.
marketing hype for something like that. The fucking first game alone sells that damn game. You could literally have not shown any trailer and just say, this is the date it's coming out, and people would go out in droves to buy it anyway, just because.
No, that is true. They will absolutely do that.
That's just what I find weird about. It's like when you have an established product that's just that damn popular, why do you need to feel like you have to cram so much wasted money into marketing it when it markets itself? Every fucking gaming site's going to cover the hell out of this game, and you don't need to do a damn thing. So here's a few extra images, or you do not have to do anything. That's pretty much like fucking Blade Runner. I mean, there was no point in advertising as much for that fucking movie as they did. It was not going to help it either way, especially when you were doing the type of fucking stupid-ass advertising you were doing. It's just, just some things just don't need the heavy advertising that they do. Save your money and put it to something that could use the advertising. Not The Last of Us. The Last of Us doesn't need extra advertising. It's already popular. It's already going to sell. You pushing out this extra trailer is not going to make a few extra people go out and buy it. The people who are going to go out and buy it are already going to set out to go buy it.
Yes, I am.
It's like the fuckers with with Madden. The people who go out and buy Madden year are going to go out and buy Madden every year. That's why they don't release trailers for fucking Madden every year.
They do.
You get the reveal at E3, but other than that, you don't get anything. Because you don't need to.
But how much marketing shit do they do for Madden at E3? They treat that shit like it is a big deal each year.
The second coming of Christ, Madden.
It's like they have the reveal trailer and they have a place where you can go and play it, and they tell you, hey, go over here, you can play it. And of course, NFL is going to market it because they fucking get shit out of that too.
Oh my god, they probably make more money than EA does.
But what I'm saying is they don't. There's not 10 trailers for Madden. There's just the one telling you it's coming out and when it's coming out, which you already know. It's every single fucking November or October, whichever.
Yep, I wouldn't know actually because I've never bought a Madden at release. Not once at all.
It's like
I have actually not bought a new Madden game in. It's been my last Madden game's on the GameCube.
Well, when you say a new Madden, like when it first comes out, or just as a new copy?
I've not bought a copy of a Madden game, period, since the GameCube.
Well, I definitely can't say that, but I mean, I usually buy one like every 3 or 4 years. Because by that point in time, I get into the mood. It's like, I wouldn't mind playing some football. What's the latest one that's not outrageously expensive? Okay, we'll pick that one.
I died again.
Hopefully by that point in time, they've added something new. Like the story mode. I can't believe it took them this long to add this story mode concept that they started putting all these games.
That has actually made me interested in playing a modern sports game, but at the same time, I haven't. Still, I got NBA 2K16 for free.
I think that one has the story mode. I think that's the first sports type to have a story mode. and it's done by Spike Lee, so maybe
I don't
not.
maybe I don't want to play.
Yeah,
because
yeah, maybe you don't. And not to mention that I have played like just the game. It's fucking hard.
well, yeah.
Oh dear God! I put that shit. I was like, okay, let's put this shit on the easiest possible. I missed every fucking shot. I have no timing for that at all. That's like the ultimate timing puzzle ever. If you can figure that shit out, good for you. I cannot. But yes, so marketing should be like new IPs. Do new IPs.
When they get their spot, they made announcements for those new games. That did happen. Okay, so in a similar note, BlizzCon was this weekend.
How about another disappointing segment?
Actually, I mean, in a way, you're right now. But there was something that some people are probably very excited about, and that's that Blizzard finally announced that they have a vanilla server called World of Warcraft Classic coming up. And this is something we've talked about this in the past here on the show. So somebody wanted this. This is a thing somebody was asking for. So, here it is, everybody. World of Warcraft Classic is finally out. And now for something that nobody asked for. Free-to-play StarCraft 2.
Yeah, it's because why make another StarCraft game? You could just
Milk
keep
everybody to
on
death with fucking
milking
loot
the old
boxes.
one.
If they do loot boxes and stupid free-to-play economy crap with this game, fuck them. I'll pay for it. I still don't own a single StarCraft 2 title.
I own 2 of the 3.
I know you didn't. You buy those sweet collector's editions of each of those.
The first one,
Yeah. So,
I didn't get Hearts of the Swarm because they didn't really like give you anything with that one. I didn't really see a point. Well, at least with, I feel like with Wings of Liberty, I actually got some stuff with it. I don't remember what it was. I have it stored away somewhere.
You got that USB drive with the first 2 games on it. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was it. With Heart of Swarm, they didn't really give you anything that was worth the extra cost, in my opinion. So I didn't get it, and I don't remember them doing one for the last expansion.
I don't either, but then again, by that point, I was not probably going to be buying them anyway because I hadn't bought the last ones because I'm really far behind on StarCraft because I still haven't even finished the original StarCraft.
Well, now you can play this one for free.
You can play the first StarCraft for free these days because it's also free. And that was from a time before Blizzard was not very good anymore. Yeah, I remember a new Blizzard game being an exciting thing, and now I hear about new Blizzard stuff, and I'm like, I don't care.
Well, that's because they're not releasing new games. I mean, the 2 big things are shit that's old as hell. There's no new Diablo, nothing new Diablo related. There's not a new StarCraft. There's no one, honestly, no one really gives a shit about World of Warcraft anymore.
No.
You have its core fan base, and that's it. And that is, shrunk a lot. And I really don't think this will give you like with any expansion, it will increase your play for just a little while, and then it will just drop off again.
Sure. Although, the saddest thing is like, okay, guys, here's a video game history test for you. Who here remembers StarCraft Ghost?
I do.
Were you disappointed when that was never came out?
Just a little bit. It was during a time period when shooters really weren't all that special because it was mostly for consoles, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't even a shooting game. It was more of it was like a stealth game. It was more akin to like Metal Gear.
I really wouldn't expect it to be anything like Metal Gear.
No, it was literally going to be like Metal Gear because you were playing as a ghost. You were playing as an actual, like a stealth operative who did who set off the nukes in the game.
Honestly, it was probably best they didn't release because I had this feeling that it just would not have gone well.
Well, I mean, that's probably why it was canceled. But so imagine that you were one of the people who was like really like psyched up about this game finally coming out, and then a bunch of jackass 12-year-olds who have only ever played fucking Overwatch were like, "Hey, isn't that just a blonde version of somebody from Overwatch?" Whenever they show Nova, the character from StarCraft Ghost, in their marketing for BlizzCon. Because I saw that shit and I was like, damn, this is somebody who does not know shit about Blizzard games. And that's a far cry from the way things used to be, because now the only thing anybody knows about from Blizzard is fucking Overwatch and World of Warcraft.
Well, I mean, Overwatch is their latest game. It's just...
Yeah, but like, you think about, the early 2000s, if you play Blizzard games, you know Blizzard games. Because that's back when Blizzard had enough of an identity in their actual titles that it was a bit more special, like fucking Deckard Cain in Diablo. I mean, if you talk to somebody who played games like we did back then, it's like they know exactly what you say when you say "stay a while and listen."
Oh.
That shit's gone now.
Well, not the same developers, but they still have the same attention to quality, at least. Yeah, I mean, not like Overwatch not be my thing, but I don't think anyone can actually go out and say, yeah, it's a shitty game, because it probably isn't. It wouldn't be as popular as it was if it was crappy. It's just not our type of game, which is probably why we're kind of disappointed in Blizzard, because that's what they're focused on, and that's what they do. They release a title and they get obsessive with it for a long period of time before a new title ever emerges again.
And hey, no one will ever be as obsessive with a game as Valve is, because they're still making hats for Team Fortress 2.
Oh God!
Sorry.
Well, until they release their shitty ass card game no one asked for.
Hey, somebody asked for it in the office after whatever the hell that other game came out, Hearthstone.
That's the thing. You already have Hearthstone. What the fuck?
They didn't make Hearthstone. Somebody else did. They want to make
some
Blizzard. Hearthstone money.
It was Blizzard. See, there's nothing. See, that's what's so weird about Blizzard is whatever they choose to commit themselves to, they don't half-ass it.
No, they don't.
It's really weird.
I mean, I'm not gonna criticize them for Overwatch or anything, but I just miss whenever their games were more interesting than that. Because yeah, you have your colorful characters everybody likes and everything, but Deckard Cain was actually a character in that setting who I remember his voice and the thing he said, and that really over the top way that the voice actor did those lines telling the stories about the shit that happened in the catacombs, and I have a nostalgia for that, and that can't be matched by colorful characters alone.
Well, right now they're just really obsessed with games that they can basically do is they're fucking the esports shit.
Yep.
All their games so far have had that feel to it. Even Diablo eventually went into that. They have seasons where you compete.
Oh, I know, and I don't care that they do, because it's not a thing I do when I play my games. So it never dawned on me that that was an esports concept until just now.
I mean, that's what's what it boils down to is esports stuff. I mean, hell, that's Overwatch. I feel like was built the ground up for that specifically.
That's not shocking, actually. Not at all. I mean, Overwatch, that makes sense. Diablo, that's really jarring.
I mean, I don't think they would actually use Diablo for it, but the concept's still similar. It's still there. Their big thing is Overwatch for sure.
Right. So about World of Warcraft Classic, do you have any interest in playing World of Warcraft as it was when it first came out?
No. I mean, honestly, I played my fair share of MMOs, but honestly, I'm still not I'm still not into the genre. I still don't like the genre.
I can't fathom the actual. I can't fathom the way these people play this game. I've told you. I mentioned Frankie, one of my coworkers, on one of the recent podcasts because he plays World of Warcraft at a stunningly like high end level because he's got so many characters that he's completely maxed out to like level what is the cap now, 120 or something? Is that what it is now?
I honestly don't know.
He can play a character to cap in a day. Because once you've done it so many times, you can bring items over and just start with a level 1 character and go all the way to the top that day using those items.
What's the point?
To do it. To do all the raids again.
Hey, why does Captain Kirk climb the mountain?
Because he's
I guess
in love with the mountain.
Yeah.
I guess if you love that game, but I don't know.
And also because it's there.
Yeah.
That sounds really boring.
It does, but we're not. I think it's some of this goes back to that problem we have where we are not the market for these games. And
You mean I'm not obsessed with something? Yeah, you're right. Because I don't have that type of obsessive personality to just do the one game over and fucking over again. I put some years between the times that I will replay through a game, and it's not going to take me, I will never get it. To me, it's just bonkers.
I mean, I won't get it because, at least whenever I replay Final Fantasy VI, it's got a plot.
Yeah, it's got a story.
And that's my thing. I mean, if you like that sort of thing, I can't fault somebody for that because, frankly, if you're that good at that kind of game and you enjoy it and you're playing it at that level, you're earning those coins that get you free playtime possibly or whatever. You're not even, you're just replaying a game you like at that point. You're doing no thing that I haven't done with having played Super Mario Bros. 3 dozens of times.
Yes, but it's not like you do it every weekend,
Shit,
you
I got other games to play.
Exactly. You do other things. I mean, there's one thing to just every now and then I will pop in Mario Brothers 3 and play through it.
Yep.
But it's another thing to sit there. It's like, well, it's the weekend. Time for our weekly play of Mario Brothers 3.
Man,
that's two completely different things.
If I was that good, I would probably be able to just sit down and play through the speed path each day.
Well, see, and that's another thing. At least with Mario, if you did decide to do that, there's a point in time where you're gonna beat that shit in what's the quickest time?
12 minutes, I think.
So I'll give you I'll say that you could get to it half an hour. You eventually half an hour. It's a half an hour.
Yeah.
It's not all day. You're not spending a day. So yeah, I'm it's if it go for me, it goes beyond just not being my thing. It's just there. I just don't understand the compulsion to just literally do one thing over and over again. With no break or time in between. Do other things. Get a life.
More Shatnerisms.
Okay, so we got two things left. Let's talk about the last news bit. Actually, we got two news bits left, so let's get these things knocked out of here. This one should be a really fast one. GameStop has started a rental program.
Have they started, or are they going to start it?
Going to start it, I think, at this point. But yeah, $60 for 6 months. You can have one game out at a time.
That's not bad.
No, and at the end of that 6 months, you get to pick one.
Yeah.
To keep.
And in other words, GameStop's got a better rental program than goddamn GameFly. Because GameFly still wants like $16 a month out of you or something crazy. And you don't get to keep shit. I've thought so many times about doing GameFly, but and every time I come up with the same problem. This shit's too expensive, and I already have too many games. Joe even like had the proper defense for this. She's like, this would be really good for the shallow games you don't want to buy. So like,
right?
Like,
So, but the first thing I questioned was, it's like, where do they get the copies of this game? Are they opening up new copies and giving those to the people?
I imagine that in some cases they do, and then it just becomes a pre-owned game, and you're renting pre-owned games. That's what I imagine the situation is. But I don't know. I'll see whenever it actually starts, I guess. If we end up doing it, I may do an investigative thing someday in regards to this. And get back to you, Brandon. So yeah, interesting thing for GameStop, and it begs the question: is this their potential future proofing against some of the stuff that's going on in the games market at all times, where they're trying to obliterate the used games market? Which, I mean, say what you want. Used games as a concept, not a bad thing. GameStop's just not that good a company doing it with their obsessive pre-order culture and crap like that. I say as I went out and pre-ordered my copy of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 this weekend. Which I have no problem having done that, because that's the only way I was going to be able to afford the collector's edition. Was to pay for it every time. I have no shame. So, last thing, Brandon, will let you kick this one off, because you brought this one up to us right before the show started.
Oh, you mean the thing I started the show with?
Oh, the thing you ranted about, but you didn't tell us what it was about.
Well, this was really odd, because I know who Perfect World is. It's a Chinese gaming company, but honestly, they're not all that big, and I find it really odd that they're doing this when it's not like they have a ton of properties to keep making them money. They decided to. I didn't even know they owned them. Honestly, they decided to shut down Runic Games, which is the guys behind the Torchlight series, which were the guys behind Hellgate London, which were the guys behind the original 2 Diablos.
In other words, their lineage is pretty awesome. Yes, motherfuckers, I love some damn Hellgate when I played it. I really like that game.
I did too.
Not great, not a perfect game, but very cool regardless.
So yeah, they decided to shut them down so they could focus on games as service. Basically, they're copying the EA mindset of things, which honestly, a lot of Perfect World's games are free to play games with microtransactions. Like Neverwinter, and I think they even have a game called Perfect World.
Is it like Second Life? Because if it is, then they
I-
have a whole new reason for sucking.
I honestly don't know. But it's just stupid. To be fair, the guys from Torchlight haven't really. I think they were working on like a mobile game, or they haven't really been doing anything since Torchlight 2, in my opinion. They might have been working on something, but until it wasn't like another single player game for us to enjoy.
It's funny you mentioned that. Until just now, I didn't realize that they had done anything since Torchlight 2.
They did a not mobile but MOBA, yeah,
Oh,
MOBA game,
which one did they?
which gigantic.
Oh, okay.
Which Perfect World said they're going to continue to support that, but I'm like, I don't give a shit about that game, and neither do most other people probably. There's like 500,000 MOBA games now.
Yeah, there are way too many.
Yeah. But the guy, like some of the head people said you haven't heard. They said that you hadn't heard the last of them. So I'm hoping. God, I thought with Runic Games they had finally found like their studio they could just run with, but no, that one got shut down too. They just have really bad luck, man. They just cannot keep shit going. I don't know why the hell they sold the Perfect World. Obviously, no matter if you're big or small, they're all the same. All publishers are just blood-sucking vampires. They're like lawyers.
Brad just cut right to the point there.
But no one's on his side but the blood-sucking lawyer.
So it sucks that they kind of got consumed. But oh well.
So this kind of lends to one of the things that we have we've not said tonight, but this is a thing we have to tell people, for the people who have listened to the Z Trigger podcast for the past 2 years, specifically the Z Trigger podcast, not Expanding Universe. Yeah, the Z Trigger podcast. This is the last episode. This is the final show that we will be doing specifically as a podcast. We will continue to do live streams on YouTube/Twitch, whatever we feel like doing at the time. This broadcast is actually on YouTube as we speak, and part of the reason is lack of interest from we haven't found a lot of audience for anything. But one of the reasons is exactly what Brandon said when the show started. The industry is fucking depressing. And everything that I actually have been enjoying lately in games, other than Mario Odyssey, for me personally anyway, is old games. I find that that's more interesting, that time period is more interesting, and there's nothing that you can really, it's hard to do it, we couldn't sit here and just do a retro podcast every week. I probably could, but that's because I got a ton of old crap, and I find that more interesting than most. But regardless, the industry's just disgusting right now, and to sit here and report on it every week is horrible. It's not as much fun as when it's good, So this is the final episode of the Z Trigger podcast, guys. Any memories you want to share?
Well, before I joined, I downloaded and listened while I was at my former job as a courier driver for the library. So, hey, it was something to keep me awake driving, and it was entertaining. So, yeah.
I will say that one of my favorite things back in the day, earlier in the show, was when we did our God Save Square Enix episodes. Those were always a lot of fun. And those are, the thing is, we could probably do those every once in a while again, since we're not, beating that dead horse every week. Because, like I said, the channel is not gone or anything, but those have always been good ones, and it hasn't all been doom and gloom. But man, it's been a very depressing couple weeks here on the show, hasn't it? So,
Yeah.
Brandon, you've been suspiciously quiet. Did you just take the podcast and never told anybody?
Are you crying?
What?
He's like, no, I'm just waiting for you to stop. Do you have any fond Z-Trigger moments that you want to share before we sign off for the last time for this podcast type?
I don't know. A lot of my memories are rants, so I don't know if that's good memories or not. Maybe I'm happy to say that the rants I will no longer have to do anymore.
Oh, you'll just do them to me instead, or when we're doing the live streams. I don't think they're.
Oh,
I don't think
oh
they're over.
no!
I don't think they're over, man.
Why are you torturing me so?
Because.
What, they just won't be recorded for posterity?
Oh, sure they will. We archive
Oh
that
yeah,
shit on YouTube. Oh. Well, anyway, I will sort of miss it, but I will not miss being sad about video games every time we talk about them. Because this shit's just not cool anymore. The level of garbage that we've been putting it with as of late, so that I will not miss. See what you have done, EA? This is your fault.
EA and Sony, and well, Sony not as much. Microsoft. Fuck you all.
Yes. Very specifically, fuck you, EA. I'm not gonna get over the visceral shutdown anytime soon. Because I was really looking forward to it. Do you know that they said that story was gonna be like an Ocean's 11 meets Star Wars story?
Hey, there's already a Star Wars book that's that.
I know, and I haven't read it yet, but an interactive version of that? Hell, man. Sign me up.
Interactive version of Scoundrels? Wow.
Yeah, sign me up, man. I'm there. But the reason why EA shut it down had also to do with the fact that they didn't want that Amy Hennig didn't want Jedi and the Force in it. So.
Okay, that's kind of understandable, but still.
There was not enough recognizable characters. Douchebags.
Yeah, they run themselves like movie companies.
All right.
And I'm sure they have their Kevin Spaceys too.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I think that was actually what ended up one of the things that ended up wiping out Silicon Knights. As a matter of fact, was that kind of controversy. So, if nobody else wants to say anything,
I shall say it once more. God save Square Enix.
Well, ain't nothing gonna save them. They're just about as doomed as all the other ones. Stupid motherfuckers.
Hey, but I had never gotten to say it before, so I wanted to say it.
Oh, well, if it ever comes up that we do one, Trent, you're on the call list still. All right, well, thank you everyone for listening to the show. If you didn't, well, this is your fucking fault.
Is it considered infanticide if it's 2 years?
On the internet, no, because on the internet it's like if it doesn't. That's like 2 weeks on the internet.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, because time flies on the internet, man. Our show's like 10 right now.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just childicide or whatever.
Childicide. Oh, but it was a malformed, ugly little child, so it's all right.
It had some growing pains.
I'm sure.
It was born once and then it got killed and then born again.
But you know,
It's Jesus.
we did try there. We did try.
Yeah.
Tried very hard. All right. Well, anyway, is that it, everybody? Is that the final comments for this show?
Think so?
I think my final comment is, well, it doesn't make any sense anymore, but be seeing you.
Eventually.
Yeah. It shortly, actually, because we still have another podcast to do.
Yeah.
That one we're still doing, so.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you on the other podcast.
Yeah.
And that should disturb you, because if I can see you, but it's a podcast.
Trent, what are you doing in people's houses? Is that why we don't have any listeners?
We're supposed to tell!
We are really drawing this out. Brandon, do you want to say "fuck you, Square" one more time?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that counted. Do forgive me. Oh. All right. Well, thank you again, anybody who listened, and be sure to continue tuning into the Expanding Universe podcast. We will be doing that shortly.
And we will review some Star Wars books, I swear.
Yeah, we just need to buy some damn Star Wars books. Or at least I do. I don't know if you guys have bought them yet.
Not the next one, no.
Alright. Actually going to do it this time. Actually going to pull the plug here on this show. Thank you and good night, everybody.
Layers.
Be seeing you. Code Blue!
Alright, Brandon. Did you hit the record button? Or the stop button, rather?
I hope he hit the record button.
Well, I mean, it's all going to be on YouTube anyway, so.
Yeah.
You could always just go download it, yeah.
Oh. All right, I'll be back.
Okay. Oh, fuck you, Mario. Bastard.
I should probably go get me a quick drink.
Alright, go for me.
Alright.
Okay.
I have found my next moon and another 4 coins. But I have not reached them yet. There's 3 more. Holy shit. There's gotta be a good way to reach that. I ain't figured it out yet. God damn. What are you reviewing this week?
The Man with the Golden Torque.
Oh, that's right. You told me that last week.
I totally forgot we were doing a book show this week.
Oh shit. Yeah, we didn't do it last week, so it's time. Am I going to review 2 or?
You can.
Then I may do that, just because I really want to talk about my best friend's exorcism.
And I'm back.
All right. So, gonna get right down to business, I guess.
Well, we should ask what we've been reading.
Well, yeah, we haven't started the show yet either.
Well, yeah, but I thought when you said get down to business, then like start with the reviews right off.
No. And then like we're gonna start reviewing.
Oh yeah.
Or the show, yeah. Okay.
Start the show.
Brandon, let's start the show again. Hopefully in a less pessimistic way than the last one. But it gave us a good beginning and end point, in all seriousness. Thank you.
Fuck this book. Fuck this
Well, I really can't say that because I thoroughly enjoyed my book.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. So,
Alright.
hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Expanded Universe, where we sit, enjoy a good book, and then either rant or give it a good review. It really just all depends on our mood.
We do a little bit of all those things.
Yes, yeah. Mostly, what?
And then sometimes we're just like, it was okay.
That might be the worst review of all.
Yeah, that's like 50% of my reviews.
So, what is everyone currently reading?
Trent, you got a list, it sounds like. So give
Yeah,
us a brief overview of the things you are reading.
Well, I will say I did finish the N.K. Jemisin book I was reading, which was the 5th season, which has already been reviewed here. So I liked it. Yeah, it was good. I sort of figured out the ending a mile away, but you know.
Oh yeah, but by the, I don't know, sort of the middle toward the end, you pretty much have figured everything out before they finally reveal, everything that's actually going on.
Yeah, the audiobook was good though.
Yeah. It was my first exposure to the second person style of writing.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't say I disliked it. I mean, at first, it wasn't a dislike as much. It was just odd because, like
jarring,
I said,
yeah.
I've never encountered that before. I knew it existed, but I've never seen anyone actually do it.
Outside of Choose Your Own Adventure.
Sort of, yeah. I don't really remember it there. Maybe because it's just been so long since I've read that type of book. But here, it was interesting. Really, really interesting. But I found myself those being actually my favorite parts. I need to. I have the second book. I need to actually sit down and read it. But I'm just not really ready to read that much depression. I feel like most of the books I end up reading nowadays, I feel like it's just jam packed full of depression, which is why I think I've read so much urban fantasy this year. That's not the main emotional element they go for. It's there, but it's not the main driving force that just seems to be just saturated in the fantasy genre right now.
Yeah, it does. Unless you're reading like high fantasy, which they don't really make anymore.
Yeah, you don't really get too many high. Most now is grim, dark, or epic.
Yeah, and that's why I read older fantasy. I got the second and third books after I finished the first one. I just haven't started them yet.
Though technically, this one, this series is technically sci-fi. It just has a lot of fantasy elements in it.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between.
Yeah,
sort of like Star Wars is.
Yeah.
Right. But the books I'm reading right now, I've started the Deathgate cycle by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. They're known for creating the Dragonlance series of books, and other things based on trading card games and stuff like that. I'd been wanting to read these for years, basically based on the cover art. I know that's sad, but yeah, I like these kind of covers. I know y'all don't, but I like.
Actually, I don't mind the Dragonlance style covers. I don't mind those so much.
Okay, and this is like those, so yeah.
I mean, they're a great team. I've read the first Dragonlance book, and it was really good.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much humor is in this one. I wasn't expecting it.
There wasn't all that much humor. I mean, I won't say there was none because, with the group dynamic, there's always going to be some humor because there's always going to be a little bit of bickering on. But I don't remember there being a great deal, mostly because, at least in the Dragonlance books, there's a constant threat that's driving them to go, and there's not a lot of room for humor.
Yeah. And this is the only book series that I've started reading and I've checked at the end of every single one of these books because I own them all, that there is a song at the end of the books, complete with, it's like sheet music.
Oh my lord.
Wow.
and that's pretty odd. And there are notes on how to play it on the keyboard, like what patches to use and that sort of thing. Really bizarre to me. I'm also still directly in the middle of Stephen King's short story collection. I sort of put that down for a while because the short stories aren't too good. It's his third short story collection. And even at the beginning of the book, it's like, okay, I have now exhausted all of the short stories that I wrote that I did not put in the other two.
That's not a selling point there, Steve.
No. And I'm reading / listening to Clive Barker's Everville.
Wait, did you say you're reading / now?
Well, there is a lot of gayness in this book. Because it's Clive Barker, and, he's gay, so he doesn't...
Really?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, yeah. And he writes a lot of that into his later books. Not as much as earlier books, but there's a lot of detailed sex scenes.
I get the feeling you were trying to find a different word just then.
Yeah. It's weird. I usually listen to the audiobooks while I'm taking my hour-long bath every day. So my parents hear this stuff coming out of the bath.
Don't ever do Laurel Hamilton.
Okay.
Or do
Uh,
it. Or do it and see and tell like a camera outside the bathroom just to see the reactions.
Hey, it's not as bad as when I was driving the white van with the chipped off paint for the library and having these playing while I'm putting the books in the van.
Oh, man. You'd be a free candy sign away from an arrest.
Yeah. But yeah, that those are the three I'm reading. The Everville one is the sequel to a book that I read. What was it? The year before last. It's the second of his book of the art. What's supposed to be a trilogy, but this is the second book. It came out in 1996, and he has not written the third book yet. I think he will die first because he's not in great health. So, yeah, he's not going to finish the Aberrat books either, I'm sure. Since it took him like 5 years to write his last book, and it was only like 300 something pages.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's had a lot of health problems lately, so would not expect many more books from him.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, what about you? What's been on your queue lately?
The big thing that I'm still just working on is Swan Song.
I read that book.
Yeah, that's the one I'm slowly working through it. It's like it's close to like 900 pages, so I'm not really rushing to get through it. So eventually, one day, I will review it, but it will not be this day or the next or the
Hey, you're still doing better than me for total books read this year, because my reading this year has been pathetic.
I'm up to 83.
I'm at 80.
But you know, I read some graphic novels and stuff, and so that sort of pads my count.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like this when you compare last year to this year. The average page count's not even close to what I was last year. I read so many long books last year. This time around, it's not so much.
Yeah, my page count's way down, and the amount of books read is down a bit too.
Oh, mine's definitely down from last year. At this point, I wasn't at past 100. I'm at 80 now. Maybe I might have actually caught up to myself around this time last year, maybe.
But you read a whole lot of really short things at the end of last year, didn't you?
Sort of. They were averaging around 300 pages. I just read through them really quickly. Like I read like 5, novels, the Quintet series. Just a lot of really shorter-ish books. I mean, they were all above 300 pages, but not by much.
Yeah, I mean, last year, my page count was at 42,500 something. This year, it's only at 25,370 something.
I'm not that far behind you. I'm at like 20.
Y'all are really making me feel small right now with this page count discussion, because
I'm at 28.
I've read a literal fraction of what you guys have read.
Hey, so Brandon, you've actually read more than me this year since you got 28,000 something.
Yes, but you have 3 books ahead of me, which is
That's true, and one of those books is like 800 pages.
So anyway,
Brad, you just have not read enough Peter F. Hamilton this year.
Clearly. I've played some video games this year, though. Yep, I did that quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't done that much.
I did that probably a bit too much. But, nonetheless, I'm reading like his new novel, Providence. And it's really good for all of the 50 pages that I've put into it so far. I only started it 2 days ago, so that's why I haven't got much further than Other than that, I've finished 2 books this week, which is the most I've finished in a week all year. People who've read 80 books each. And I'm really excited, actually, to tell you guys about. Actually, both of the books I've read this year have been finished this week are very.
I was like, wow, you've only read 2 books this year?
I've reviewed more than 2 books this year, so you should know better.
That's just your backlog from years past.
Clearly, yeah.
I will say I did like the book cover of one of the books you're reviewing.
Let me guess, the one for My Best Friend's Exorcism?
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
That cover made me buy the book, and the original hardcover is nowhere near as good.
Oh, that's sad.
It's like a yearbook photo of somebody turned away and, like, crying or whatever. It's not.
You mean the VHS tape cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, the VHS tape cover is fantastic, but the hardcover cover is not.
Oh yeah, the one they have on Wikipedia is not great.
Yeah, I would not have bought that book. This one I bought because, goddamn, look at that cover. Just look at it. And how can somebody look at that cover and not say, "Oh my God, why have I not read this yet?"
Yeah, they did what Stranger Things did for their physical media release.
Yes,
you know,
which I won't lie. When I saw the Stranger Things Blu-ray at Target a week ago, I was like, I don't need this. I can literally watch this at any time. But that's amazing. Does this mean I'm reviewing first? Because I got right to that. And
well, I can tell you this: I'm not reviewing. So
am I going to have to review 2 books this week?
If
I
you
can.
want to.
yeah.
And both the books I read were really good, so I'll review one, Brandon, and then Brandon will do one, and then I'll do the other one. How's that sound?
Okay.
Alright, so for anybody who's watching the live stream version of this, I apologize because I'm going to stop so I can do this review. Stop playing my game of this. Alright, so My Best Friend's Exorcism actually came out in 2016. I thought it was a 2017 release. If it was a 2017 release, it would so far be my favorite book for this year. But alas, it's not. It's 2016 release. It is a horror novel, which is totally not a thing I usually read, and I was expecting it to be something of a comedy. This book novel is by Grady Hendrix, who also wrote Horror Store, which is a horror novel that takes place in a shop that's very similar to an IKEA. Guess what I'm going to read at some point. Anyway, because this cover was kind of evoking 1980s VHS horror movie cover art, I was like, this is going to be sort of a spoofy sort of thing, kind of taking the piss out of 80s horror and whatnot. But it didn't at all. I was before we get into it, I will say that I was uniquely surprised by the fact that this book, while it was funny from time to time, it took the horror aspects seriously. This is not just a horror novel, though. This is a book that works on a lot of different levels, such as it is very much a very 1980s soaked novel about teenage best friends in high school, and I'll get to some of the other stuff it does. Anyway, the book is about, primarily, it's about Abby, who is, this book opens with her on her 10th birthday, and Abby has just seen E.T. for the first time. And E.T. made her cry. And she was so convinced that she was now an adult because the movie made her feel something that she could cry about. So, I'm not even kidding. This is the first chapter of this book. And I thought what I was getting, and I thought I knew I was getting into, like, the kind of spookiness of this, but, like, so she throws her parents throw her 10th birthday party at the skating rink, and it's all E.T'd up, and of course, one of the more popular girls in class, held a party the same day at her horse ranch, and everybody went to that instead, except for this one girl, Gretchen, And, you know, even though it's, like, really awkward, she and Gretchen are best friends after this very specific day, after they dance to the song We Got the Beat in the middle of the skating rink singing the wrong fucking lyrics. Cue 6 years later, and they're in high school, and you get a nice frame up of, you know, what's changed between then. Gretchen's parents are loaded. This book takes place in Charleston, South Carolina, by the way. Abby's family is poor as hell. Gretchen's family is rich. Everybody that Abby goes to school with at the, like, extremely preppy as hell Christian school, or Christian private school, everybody's loaded except for Abby. And this has a lot to do with what goes on in the narrative from here forward, because all of Abby's friends are rich except for her. And this does play into the plot from time to time. So anyway, her and two of their friends are out skinny dipping. And they've all decided that they want to try LSD for the first time.
As one does.
Yes. They want to experiment because it's the 80s and they want to try LSD. And
Wait a minute, it's the 80s, but they want LSD? Isn't that very 60s?
It is.
Shouldn't they be
60s.
trying cocaine?
You think I mean, I imagine they probably have tried cocaine by this point, as loaded as most of these kids are. Anyway, Gretchen, of course, makes a crack.
So they found their parents' stash.
Gretchen makes a crack about, you know, not wanting to turn into Sid Barrett. So they all do LSD, and later in the evening, none of them really notice anything. Like, it didn't work. Gretchen walks outside, jumps into the water, and basically disappears. And they find her a couple of hours later, just stark naked, and kind of freaking the hell out a little bit. And they find her out at this...
Oh God, does this turn into the end of Sleepaway Camp?
Oh God.
I cannot finish that joke for you, I'm sorry.
Oh God.
I never saw Sleepaway Camp.
Oh God.
Anyway, Abby's the one who finds her out at this weird shed, and there's like a silhouette of somebody out there, and it's just creepy, and it's like typically creepy. Anyway, they go back to school. Gretchen's a little bit different the next time they see her, in that she's starting to smell funny, and she's wearing the same clothes every day, and she's just kind of like greasy and nasty, and
She's become a hipster.
it's the 80s, so no, she was already a hipster. And this escalates over the course of the novel. Like, one of their friends, her boyfriend, you know, kind of gets on her, and she snaps at him and like raises hell at him and says something to the equivalent of. She basically reveals that he sniffs his sister's panties.
Oh, good Lord.
In front of everybody in the school, and of course he threatens her and is like raising hell at her. And it reaches a point where Abby is her only friend left, and even Abby's sick of her shit because she's acting really strange and she's just disgusting, and like, there's so little that Abby can do for her, and eventually she just doesn't answer the phone one night when she calls. The next day, Gretchen's perfectly fine and normal again, except everybody's now treating Abby like shit, and she's being accused of all sorts of terrible things. Obviously, Gretchen is now possessed by a demon, and the rest of the book is all of the infighting and such that leads to her eventual exorcism. Okay, now for all the things that the book is doing within this narrative. First off, you have a story about two best friends who are fighting, and it's all because one changed and the other one didn't. Because, obviously, whenever you're in high school, people change and, you know, friends split apart and things like that. That happens, and this book handles that as part of the narrative and as a possibility of that narrative. But obviously that's not the case, otherwise this wouldn't be called My Best Friend's Exorcism.
but it does. But the reason I say that it's doing that is because everything I'm about to mention it does extremely well. All of these things work very well within the narrative that's there. Like I said before, with Abby being poor, Gretchen literally calls her out. It's like, you used to hang out with your poor friends, but now you only hang out with us rich kids because we do things for you and so on. So that is a valid part of the story. You also have the effective horror novel. I will not reveal the numerous ways this book works as a very good horror book. There's some good skin-crawling moments in there. It's never outright scary or anything, but I don't think I've ever read a novel that was outright scary to me. But it's a very effective horror story. It's a very effective exorcism story, demon possession story. And then there's my favorite part that I was totally not prepared for it to be in this book. Anybody who's into nerd culture knows about the Satanic Panic in the 1980s. Where even He-Man, of all things, was considered taboo by some people, and that it was going to lead their children to Satanism.
And Dungeons and Dragons.
Of course, in Dungeons and Dragons. So there's an ongoing kind of discussion about Satanists and how there's been all these like blood sacrifices, and there's even the suggestion that all of our parents are in on it, and they talk about when Geraldo had all these like members of the Satanic Church on his show.
Oh, come on, they only want to do it for the greater good.
Oh, for the greater good. And then this reaches kind of a point later in the book whenever the high school goes to do their biology lab, for anatomy, and they would have to dissect something. Someone stole a baby, like a baby that would have been used for dissection. And obviously everybody thinks that somebody in the class is a Satanist. The fact that...
As one does.
Yes. The fact that that's even an aspect of this book, and it's written and woven into the narrative as it was, it's stellar. Like, every one of these aspects of the book fits together so well. Even the actual exorcism scene calls back to the most important part of the story, which is the friendship between Abby and Gretchen. Here's the other thing that I can say I'm impressed by is the fact that it did a book about the 80s without it just being a bunch of 80s jokes and 80s references. It references the 80s, but it's not calling attention to the fact that it's taking place in the 80s constantly, specifically so that you know you're reading a book about the 1980s and that you should have nostalgia for every single thing in there. Anything it brings up has a point later in the book. Everything matters for being exactly what it is.
So, no, she was watching the Smurfs while wearing her Care Bear socks.
Exactly. You got it. I will say this though, it's also touching. The way this book closes is it's absolutely beautiful what ends up happening on the page and what this book is ultimately about, which is it's a book about friendship while also being a book about being possessed by an owl demon. I love this book. I want everybody I know to go out and buy a copy of this book because I loved it that much. I love how funny it was. I love the fact that it worked as a horror book. I like that it actually was a little weird to read. I love the fact that it was a constant page turner. Following about after page 100, I read the rest of the book in a day. I read 240 pages of this book in a day. I haven't done that with a book all that much recently. I got to a point where once things got really serious, in terms of Gretchen's possession,
I just couldn't stop reading it. And also, there is a line. I want to close my review on this, and this is part of where take in mind that yes, the exorcism scene is really fucking good. The priest who realized that Gretchen is actually possessed by as awful of a demon as she is part of a troupe of Christian bodybuilders that had come to the school to put on a show.
Oh my god.
The youngest of these guys is the one who saw the demon on her. And whenever he meets Gretchen to discuss what they're going to do about this situation, he's eating corn dogs and he says, "Corn dogs are all the proof that I need that God exists." That is a line of dialogue you will get in this book. And you know what? It's so fucking perfect for this character because he's totally not either the priests from The Exorcist, and you don't believe he can do what he's called to do. Excellent book. If I was going to give it a star rating, I'd give it a solid 5 out of 5. I loved every page of this damn thing. Go and read it. Please go and read it. This dude deserves your hard-earned cash for his writing. I'm going to read Horror Story at some point.
Are you going to read Satan Loves You?
I need to find out what all his stuff is because I think he's done a lot of self-published work. Because his first major publication was Horror Store.
Uh-huh.
And I'm guessing the rest of this is...
Well, I was on Goodreads, and he wrote his own review for his own book for Satan Loves You.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it says, "I wrote this book, but still I am always surprised by just how awesome it is. I have used it to convince a rampaging bull not to attack, to help a bear enter early hibernation, to hypnotize an enormous bee, and to cure a child with a high fever."
That's awesome. I love it.
I want to read his book that's Paperbacks from Hell.
Yes.
A history of horror fiction in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
Because that's just right up my alley there.
I wouldn't mind reading that as well. You'll have to let me know how that one is. I just saw, and I'm not surprised by this, he is from Charleston, South Carolina. And that's the other thing. You know, Sean is from Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's lived in Charleston. He's not from Charleston, but he's lived in Charleston for a long time. The way he's talked about Charleston, it's like, man, I believe it. I believe this book in terms of how it makes the people from Charleston look. I get the feeling he doesn't like a lot of people in Charleston, meaning this author. So yeah, I need to read Horror Story at some point. I love this book. I was gonna say one more thing about it, but now I can't remember what it was. But yeah, go read it. Just go read it. Love it. Love it. Buy the paperback because it's got a better cover. Brandon, I think it's your turn.
Mm-hmm. So, I've reviewed Simon Green on the podcast before with his Nightside series. But he has several different ones, and aside from Nightside, the other big one is the series called Secret Histories, which is a hybrid of two things that I thoroughly enjoy. One being James Bond spy movies, and of course, urban fantasy. And he plays up both sides of that very well. Like, the gadgets, the inventor of the gadgets being, how Q likes to demonstrate his little wonderful inventions. You have characters like that in this book. So I jumped on this series not as quickly as I wanted to, because when I first read about what it was supposed to be, I was like, I have to read this. Because he has a wonderful sense of humor, and he also has that little stamp upon those books. So the premise of this is that there's this family in England who basically a bunch of spies who protect society from, things that, like to exist in the night. The paranormal, ghosts, vampires, whatever, what have you. Though typically when you are reading a Simon Green novel, you do not usually read about these things. He likes to create his own little weird creatures. So, in this, the book's called "The Man with the Golden Torque." It's a ripoff of the Man with the Golden Gun, of course. And it's about, like I said, it's about this family, and they all have these golden torques around their necks that allow them to tap into this special power or whatever that allows them to basically just dominate everything like they're a fucking juggernaut. Because you can't be killed when you're encased into this suit of armor that it allows you to have. So basically, this family they sort of rule the world, because nothing can really stand against them. Anytime that one of these people steps onto the scene, everyone basically runs in fear because they're usually people die. What happens when James Bond goes on the scene? Pretty much everyone usually dies, with whether or not he means for it to happen. Along with that, he starts developing this little backstory with from English lore with like the Druids and things like that, and that's where these people are descended from, the Druids. They encounter this entity from another realm that's basically changed, history into what they currently have in this book series. And as you're going along, you start getting revealed about how things actually are in the world versus what the main character is taught to believe, because they teach everyone in this family that that they're the good guys. They're the ones that are actually protecting everyone, and which in reality they're actually the ones that are the tyrants. They're the ones controlling the world and not really telling everyone the truth. So the character goes through a bunch of things trying to figure out what's going on and why things are the way they are. So that's the premise. His writing in this one, I don't think it's as good as what the stuff I read in Nightside, mostly because this book series is longer. The Nightside books average around 200 pages, so it doesn't allow for a lot of indulgence in world building. It does have some, but it doesn't waste pages. And while this one was close to 400 pages, so he had a little bit of room to sort of waste time, and he did a little, which I mean it's fine. Some authors are allowed to do that, but I do think it weakened the book maybe just a little. But you still get the weird characters that he likes to build, like in the first real major scene for the character. He's just driving down a road and he starts getting attacked by just random things. At one point in time, he's fending off against a series of cars that aren't actually cars. They look like cars. They have a humanoid-looking thing in the driver's seat, but they're actually demons. That they describe that if you didn't know any better, you would end up getting. They would eat you. They're not actually cars. They're a creature that would appear in the night side, and they would constantly describe how it's never a good idea to ever cross the road because that car that you're walking in front of may not actually be a car. thing he had to deal with was wizards basically, and I can't remember. There was some type of flying contraption that he had to deal with. See, I'm trying to remember all the weird shit that was in this damn book. There were a few different things, but it's hard to describe because it's more akin to like a psychedelic atmosphere. So it's not something you can really describe. It's just something you have to read to see. But no matter no matter where he goes, though, everything he encounters ends up being destroyed. Like, he would encounter a new group of people, and by the time he was done with them, their entire way of life has been utterly devastated because of his involvement. Yeah, it's just a fun book. It's not incredibly like deep, and it does have the urban fantasy aspect of that, because I have yet to read an urban fantasy that requires a lot of thinking power to understand what's going on. It's nothing like the Fifth Season or trying to pick apart a Hamilton science fiction novel. It's usually just very straightforward. It's just for pure enjoyment, which is definitely Simon Green. If you want a book that's just pure entertainment, good, well-written entertainment, then you would definitely enjoy any of his writing.
I need to read some of his books because you keep reviewing.
You do. I do, and they are really good. Like, the Nightside series is more of a horror influenced science fiction, urban fantasy thing, and I still think it's really, really good. I mean, even I can't even say it's good for what it is. It's just a damn good book. And this one, it's more when he brought in the James Bond influence, it's more of like more of the Roger Moore edge of James Bond, where it's a little more comedic. The gadgets are a little over the top.
Played more for camp than say.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't. It doesn't. He's not. Taking a car and flipping it over a bridge or whatever. He's not doing with weird sound effects. It's not that type of campy, but the gadgets, the gadgets are they can seem like they'd be stupid, but they use them in such a way, at least in this one book so far, is that it actually had a purpose to be used. Like, they gave him a watch where he could go back in time. See, what was it? You click. You always had the two buttons you have to push on the watch to activate it. And I think in this, every activation was like either it might have been 30 seconds to a minute back in time. There was an instance where he was fighting something bad happened that he went back in time so many times that he ended up breaking the watch, because always if you're a spy you can't just use your gadgets, you have to break them.
Right. Well, I mean, you can't bring back the Q in pristine order after all.
Yeah. So
Balls Q.
Yeah.
Bonus 007.
I do wish though that there was not a Ghetto Blaster. But I did thoroughly enjoy the fact that they did have like that moment where he went to the armory and received all these weird gadgets that eventually will be used, and so. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It's a little longer than the Nightside books. This one, like I said, was around 400. If you were to check out this stuff, I would strongly recommend doing the Nightside series first, just for the simple fact that it is a lot shorter. So if you ended up not liking his writing style, the most you wasted was 200 pages of your life.
All right. So is it my turn again?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because here's the big surprise. I'm going to review another horror novel.
Yeah, that is a surprise.
This one's sci-fi horror, but it's still horror. Cause...
That's okay. You're taking my place this week, so that fits.
All right.
Since that's what I usually review.
So I'll open by saying I did not expect this book to unnerve me as much as it did. I did not know this book was horror when I picked it up. And that book is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This book is the first volume in the Southern Reach trilogy, and it is being adapted into a film that's coming out early next year, starring Natalie Portman and directed by the same guy who did Ex Machina. So I really want to see the film. I saw the trailer before we bought the book. I bought this at a little shop called Page 158 Books here in Wake Forest. And if you live in the Raleigh area, Page 158 Books is very cool. Very cool little shop. So, Annihilation is... Let me go ahead and say it this way. Annihilation is exactly what I wanted H.P. Lovecraft to be. It does that very specific type of horror that he writes with style and class and not a single drop of racism or sexism. So it's everything that
And isn't long-winded as fuck?
it does exactly what Lovecraft does, but well. In that, and I say that in the sense that Lovecraft stories are somebody describing a thing that happened. Except, it's not happening in the present in Lovecraft. It's an account of something. And whenever you're reading in Lovecraft, it is boring. I'm sorry. I could not do it with Lovecraft. I did not like the way he wrote. I like the style of horror he's trying to do. But this is it. This very thing is exactly what I wanted Lovecraft to be, down to the letter. And now let me tell you about it. The first volume of the Southern Reach trilogy, Annihilation, follows 4 women, a biologist, an anthropologist, a psychologist, and a surveyor. Whenever they go out into a new place called Area X, this place is cut off from all of civilization by a strange border that all of these people have to be hypnotized to be carried through in order to do their analysis of the site. This is the 12th expedition of Area X. Every previous expedition sees the people coming back either dead or they're found dead. They just disappear. They commit suicide. They come back with severe mental trauma. Sometimes they come back completely absorbed by cancer, which is what happened to the previous expedition, where the biologist, who is the main character of this novel, her wife was part of the previous expedition. And when he came back, he just appeared at home one night. Couldn't tell you anything that actually happened. Didn't really talk about it. But whenever the organization that sends these expeditions into Area X came to get him, he died the next day. So the expedition, whenever they arrive in Area X, they come to this giant opening in the ground, which everybody says is a tunnel, except for the biologist. The biologist calls it a tower. To her, it's a tower. And when they go downstairs, they see this plant material writing words on the wall, this long, ongoing narrative. The next day, someone else has disappeared, and the psychologist is acting incredibly strange and giving them orders to go back and continue their research in the tower. What follows is the breakdown of the 12th expedition and more of a personal analysis of the biologist as a person, her history, her relationship with her husband, and how that has affected her going into Area X and what Area X actually could have meant to their relationship. That is, in short, the novel. To say more would really give away a lot of what makes this book incredibly special and creepy as fuck. I remember the first night I was reading this, and this book is only 5 chapters. It's very short, only about 200 pages. They're very long chapters, obviously. And I'm reading the part where they're in the tower. Let me frame this up. So, Brandon, this was the weekend you were visiting. One of the weekends the last time you visited. Jo was sick, so she was actually asleep downstairs. I'm laying in bed by myself reading this book with my book lamp on to light the page. And Amanda, who's our roommate, has just stepped across the hall. Actually, no, Brandon, you came downstairs. You went to the first floor to get a drink or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the noise in the hallway startled the fuck out of me. Because I'm reading this first scene where they're in the tunnel and the writing is on the walls, and the other person has just disappeared, and all of these things are happening, and I literally was just like freaked the hell out, and I shined my damn book lamp up into the hallway. Not because anything was specifically happening on the page, because like I said, this book is written as an account of the expedition. Because it's the biologist's journal that she is writing by hand. Because they can't take technology into this place because bad things happened when they took technology into this place. It is a stellar, tense novel with a resolution that I was both satisfied with, but not, because it was interesting but it didn't really do anything to end the story, so to speak, because I can't say without spoiling it. But there are 2 follow-ups, Authority and Acceptance, and I haven't read those yet. And I will, because this book was pretty damn exceptional. It's very good science fiction, in that it's about 4 scientists going in to do an expedition of a strange area. And it does that aspect very well. But for me, it feels more like a horror novel. It's actually not a comfortable book to read. It is very much that Lovecraftian people going insane from something that they don't understand kind of horror. And
In the Mouth of Madness.
yes, except good.
The movie. Hey, the movie In the Mouth of Madness
sorry,
is
I'm
good.
thinking about At the Mountains of Madness.
Which that was, the title is
Yeah,
obvious.
it's an obvious reference to it. I would say, I love it. I love In the Mouth of Madness, but this is closer to Lovecraft than that even. This is uncomfortable and creepy as hell, in the sense that as I'm reading it, I felt close enough to what was happening to the biologist on the page that I had to shine my damn flashlight into the hallway. So, yes, excellent book. Another one that I say, people, go buy this before the movie. Buy this one, read it before the movie, because frankly, the movie's going to be very good if it's anything like this book. I'm thinking that since it's the same director that did Ex Machina, that's good. That's really good. This is a good follow up to what he did with Ex Machina.
It'll be better than The Snowman.
That won't be hard. I saw that movie actually.
I've heard bad things.
I don't think it was as bad as the reviews say, but at the same time, it's nothing special. I think its biggest problem is when the marketing tries to make it look like a horror movie, and it's not. It's just a crime drama. And
Like Insomnia was.
Yeah, but Insomnia at least had some style to it. This was just kind of a crime movie. It's like a long episode of a crime drama on television.
Oh, I don't even watch those because they're all the same.
Exactly. I never need to watch it again. I wasn't like mad that I saw
it. It did have dubbed Val Kilmer though.
Right. Oh, this is much better than the Snowman. But that doesn't take a lot. I only saw the Snowman because I had Movie Pass.
Buy Movie Pass, people. I haven't yet, but I'm going to.
Movie Pass is so worth every penny. That's how we saw Geostorm. We didn't pay money to see Geostorm.
Hey, if come December you want to see the new Star Wars like 10 times, hey, there you go.
Hey, man, that's already a plan. We're already talking about we want to see Thor again because somebody was ruining the experience for Judd.
So I heard. I'm gonna go see that tomorrow.
It's good. It's a lot of fun. The other thing I can't wait to see is The Disaster Artist, which is another book I need to read.
Yeah.
Have you seen trailers for that, guys?
Yes, I have.
Brandon, have you seen the trailers for The Disaster Artist?
I haven't passed yet.
James Franco is doing a terrifyingly good job being Tommy Wiseau.
I want to see Tommy Wiseau's reaction to the movie.
Oh man, so do I. Especially since one of the things that's in the movie that I'm curious to see if it's in the book is Greg Sestero asking, "Where does the money come from? Where do you get $5 million to make this movie?" Because that's a question I want answered myself.
So, if the movie does well and they do a sequel, is it going to be about the back and forth between him and Doug Walker?
Doug Walker can just play himself.
Yeah.
Not like he's doing anything else.
No.
Oh, it'll be about Tommy Wiseau's video game reviews.
Or that TV show he had for a while.
Oh my God, The Neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. I've only ever seen like 5 minutes of that, and that was too fucking much. It made The Room look amazing.
I have not watched The Room all the way through because I could not make it through.
Oh my God, I've seen it twice. One time with no assistance, and the other time we saw it Riff Tracks Live. And Riff Tracks Live has created one of our house in jokes that we'll throw out from time to time, like for watching a movie or something. And that is a line from that horrific, way too long sex scene at the beginning of the movie. What? That doesn't work. He must have a hip dick. He's got a hip dick.
Which they make fun of in the movie. Why is he having sex with his belly button?
Oh yeah, yeah, with her belly. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna be good. I need to read the book though. Oh, too many books, not enough time. There's two Kevin Hearn novels out that I haven't even bought yet.
I have 200 books sitting here waiting to be read.
Yeah, probably got somewhere in that area too. I'm trying to catch up on all the books I bought this year though, and after I read Providence, I'm going to read Tropic of Kansas, which I'm really looking forward to reading.
Not Tropic of Cancer, which is a different book altogether.
No, Tropic of Kansas, the book that's very anti-Trump, apparently.
Oh.
Which is funny because
it's weird.
For like 5 years.
It's weird how many books I've read lately that mention Trump by name, and these books were written in like the 90s, and I'm just like, okay, what? I know he was like one of the supposedly wealthiest guys and everything, but it's just weird that every book I'm reading lately seems to have his name in it.
The only thing I've really got to respond with that is that last year, after he was chosen as a Republican candidate, the Cinema Snob did a review of a film called Ghosts Can't Do It. And it's literally a movie about... It's one of the most malicious romantic comedies I've ever heard of in my life. And it is, in fact, about the fact that ghosts can't have sex, and it's a murder. And it's got a lot to do with murder, this movie. And Donald Trump is in it, as himself. And the movie's really proud of this fact.
I'm sorry, but the only movie I'll watch with Donald Trump in it is Home Alone 2.
That's about the only... Yeah. And even that, I don't know. Home Alone 2 is not very good.
Even then, he had to talk himself into the role because the only reason he was in it is because he owned the hotel. And I think it was in his in the agreement to use the hotel, he had to have a cameo.
Wow. That's a thing. That's a thing. Cinematic history now. You know what's also...
Can't we please learn that he, molested Macaulay Culkin or something?
Are you saying that's what happened to Macaulay Culkin's career after Home
It'd be surprising if we learned it. Oh, it wasn't Michael Jackson. It was Donald Trump.
Secret Histories of Hollywood. Give it a few months.
Yeah, that's what the Russians are hiding.
It's not a golden shower state.
No. Or it is. It's just not who we think it is.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you.
On that note.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening this evening. That got weird at the end.
Yeah, it did. Macaulay Culkin and golden showers.
That is not a sentence I ever need to think about again. All right, well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the Expanded Universe show. Until then, you can follow us over at Facebook and Twitter at ZTriggerLive. You can also continue to view us here on YouTube or Twitch, whichever one will eventually get us hits, because something's got to work. And also, we're available on iTunes and Podbean, although Podbean and iTunes will start, these will have to be downloaded when they come out from now on, because we are not doing archival anymore. Maybe we'll archive on YouTube, I don't know, not that that'll help anybody. But, that's just a little PSA information there for everybody. Until next time, though, farewell from the Expanded Universe, and we'll see you next time.
Laters.
Be seeing you.
Alright, I've been trying to get this stupid moon for the entire hour and change that we're recording that show, and I still haven't gotten it.
Well, you know what your problem is.
Damn it.
That's no moon.
It's a space station.
It's a space station.
You know, it's actually T-Rex chewing Mario's ass off, trying to break the...
Oh. I thought you were going to say it's a giant T-Rex turd.
What?
There's a giant pile of shit.
Oh, shit.
I'm in a...
Shit, after watching Thor, I don't blame you.
I'm always in a Jeff Goldblum mood.
Jeff Goldblum's also always in a Jeff Goldblum mood.
Yeah. But not as much as Nicolas Cage is in a Nicolas Cage mood.
Nicolas Cage, good actor or bad?
A little in between.
What'd you say?
Good actor in Face Off. Bad in Ghost Rider 2.
That probably wasn't his fault.
Utterly brilliant in adaptation. Fucking horrendous in Let Behind.
Yeah.
God, I really wanted to
passable
scream at
in
somebody.
knowing. But horrible in what's that movie he did with Cher?
Moonlight.
He did a movie with Cher.
Moonstruck.
Moonstruck.
Yeah.
Snap out of it.
God, watching TNT when I was a kid and hearing that fucking quote used in advertising
Yep.
all the time made me hate cable television as an adult. So I've never seen Moonstruck. Oh, no.
Me either.
I just know, snap out of it.
Yeah. I have seen Cher's other 80s movie. I have seen Witches of Eastwick now, yeah.
I don't know how you're supposed to get up this damn hill fast enough to get this fucking moon. Not even fucking...
Maybe you have to have Yoshi?
Yoshi, you know, you can't get Yoshi until much later in the game.
I knew he was in it. I didn't know where.
I currently have not enough moons.
Is the dinosaur kingdom in the game?
Oh, I mean, it's not just a kingdom. That's in a few, he's in a few places.
Well, I mean, like the dinosaur. You know how Super Mario World was the dinosaur kingdom?
Oh, no, not in this one. That would be fucking awesome, but no.
I know you said the Mushroom Kingdom was, so I just was like, maybe.
That would be cool as shit, but no such luck. But no, there's an actual dinosaur you can turn into a fucking T-Rex.
Oh.
Yeah. Motherfucking T-Rex.
I'm sure Mario does not say that.
Oh, but I did.
It's me.
Because they'd be
pissing on pants. Let's see how many moons I've got before I turn this stream off. Alright, turning it on, doing this. There's 5 more for the collection. I have 230. So while we did recording, I got 14 moons.
You got mooned 14 times.
I have done...
Oh, right.
I'm up to 1/4 of the total game progress now.
Now,
That's terrifying.
how many hours is that game supposed to take?
Completionist did it in 78 hours.
Oh, that's long for a Mario game, but
That's 999 moons, every purple coin, everything. I still only have half of the Metro Kingdom moons. God. I'm missing 11 in the Snow Kingdom, 6 in Cap Kingdom, 20 of 25 in Cascade Kingdom. I just know that some of these you can't get until you finish the game, period. And then you have to do another thing to unlock the rest of the moons you get in each world.
so long, Bowser.
This is a long, damn, huge game. But that I've put so much of a dent in it already is pretty good, because I've only had it for a week, and I've done 1/4 of it. The problem is I have to do everything in my power to finish this game by the time Xenoblade Chronicles 2 comes out.
Isn't that like the end of the month?
First week
Or
of
beginning
December.
of next month?
It's
Yeah.
the beginning of December, yeah. Alright, bye stream.